Our next point is sex-linked inheritance. In this chapter, the various types of sex-linked inheritance are present. Sex-linked means the genes which are linked with a sex chromosomes, and sex chromosomes which are X and Y. In this diagram you can observe the X chromosome which is longer, larger and having a 2 arms. Y chromosome which is on the right side, which is shorter, smaller, and these are different in their functions as well as dimensions from the remaining chromosomes, that is autosomes. These sex chromosomes determine whether the organism is male or female. In humans and other mammals, the sex chromosomes are X and Y. Females have 2 X chromosomes and male have an X and an Y. The non-sex chromosomes are also called as autosomes. Autosomes come in pairs of homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes have the same genes arranged in same order. So, for all of the genes in autosomes, both male and females have 2 copies. A female's 2 X chromosomes also have the same genes arranged in the same order. So, females have 2 copies of every genes including the genes on sex chromosomes. But this case is not true for Y chromosome or the male. The X and Y chromosomes, however, have different genes. So, for the genes on the sex chromosome, males have just only 1 copy. The Y chromosome has few genes, but the X chromosomes has more than 1000 genes. And these genes are linked with its sexual characters. The sex-linked inheritance means the inheritance of such a type of genes. Besides the carrying genes for determining sex, the sex chromosome also bear the genes for other characters. These genes are carried from generation to generation and are called sex-linked genes. And the characters controlled by these genes are called as sex-linked characters. The inheritance of such a sex-linked genes or character or trait is known as sex-linked inheritance. Sex linkage was first discovered by Morgan in 1910 in fruit fly Drosophila melanogaster. The sex-linked inheritance has some features which are as sex makes no difference in Mendel's crosses, but the Mendel's laws are not applicable on those genes which are exclusively located on the X or Y chromosome. Sex-linked inheritance is an inheritance of trait that is determined by gene located on one of the sex chromosome. The genes which occur exclusively on X chromosome are called as X-linked genes, while the genes which exclusively occur in Y chromosome are called Y-linked genes. The inheritance of such a X-linked and hollandric genes is called as sex-linked inheritance. In first diagram, you observe the chromosomes, X chromosome and Y chromosome. These are the sex chromosomes which are different than the autosomes. Autosomes means the chromosomes which carry the all body characters or remaining without the sex. Remaining characters are carried by autosomes, but these are the sex chromosomes, and on these chromosomes the many other genes are also present than the sex characters. Hence, these remaining genes are transferred from one generation to next generation with a linkage with a sex genes, hence called as sex-linked inheritance. The characteristics of this inheritance is the pattern of inheritance of sex-linked trait is crisscross, means a zigzag manner. A father passes the X-linked allele of a trait to daughter, who passes it to the grandson. The father cannot pass the sex-linked allele to son directly. That is, these genes which are present on sex chromosomes, they are different in different sexes, in male or female. Hence, their inheritance shows a crisscross manner. A mother can pass an allele of trait to both daughter and son because she has two X chromosomes, means two sets of that genes. Only homozygous females can express a recessive trait, while heterozygous female are carrier and do not express the trait. The males express the trait immediately because of the absence of corresponding allele, because Y chromosome has a single set of chromosomes. This is the reason why male suffers from sex-linked disorders more than females. This percentage is also showing a great difference, that is nearly 8% male show such a sex-linked diseases and females show less than 1%. Most of the sex-linked traits are recessive. Some examples of sex-linked traits include hemophilia or the bleeder's disease, daltonism or the color blindness. It has been observed that genes occurring only in X chromosome are represented twice in a female, because female has two X chromosomes, and once in a male because male has only one X chromosome. The differential region of each chromosome contain genes that have no counterpart on the other kind of sex chromosome. These genes, whether dominant or recessive, show their effect in a male phenotype. Genes in differential region are called as hemizygous or half zygous in the male. These sex-linked genes and their inheritance shows a various types. Out of that, the 6 types are listed: X-linked, Y-linked, XY-linked, completely sex-linked or incompletely sex-linked, and sex-limited. These type of genes and their inheritance we are going to discuss in next lecture. First one is X-linked inheritance. The X-linked recessive genes show crisscross pattern of inheritance. In crisscross inheritance, an X-linked recessive gene is transmitted from P1 male parent to F2 male progeny through its F1 heterozygous females, which are called as carriers, and different F1 and F2 results in reciprocal crosses. The X-linked recessive phenotype is usually found more frequently in male than in the female. This is because an affected female can result only when both mother and father bear the X-linked recessive alleles, whereas an affected male can result when only one mother carrier carries the gene. Usually, none of the offsprings of affected male will be affected, but all his daughters will carry the gene in masked heterozygous condition. So, one half of their son, that is grandson of F1 father, will be affected. None of the sons of affected male will inherit the X-linked recessive gene. So, not only will they be free of the defective phenotype, but they will not pass the gene along to their offsprings. This is the crisscross inheritance. It can be understood with help of the next diagram. Some features are as the dominant gene is carried on the chromosome. Males get 2x chromosomes from 1x chromosome from their mother, and female get their X chromosome from both the parents. And another one is X-linked dominant inheritance. If mother is carrier of mutated gene, 50% of son and daughter will be affected, and 50% son and daughter will be normal. This is explained or understand with help of this diagram. You can see the cross between unaffected father and affected mother. The affected is determined or denoted with help of a light blue square, and affected is denoted by a dark blue. In this chromosomal pair, this one is unaffected gene of a female or mother. This is X-linked dominant gene which is present in a female genotype. It is transferred to next generation, and the progeny shows a unaffected son and daughter 50% and affected son and daughter 50%. These two are affected and these two are unaffected. Means the X-linked dominant gene is transferred through the affected mother into next generation. If father is carrier of mutated gene, 100% of his daughters will have disorder, because this X-linked gene is going to daughters, and at the same time son will get a Y chromosome. X-linked gene cannot show any effect on son when father is having a carrier mutant gene. It is seen in this diagram. Affected father, which is denoted as a light blue square. This affected gene which is carried by father, and that gene is transferred to only daughters because X chromosome going to these daughters and son get a Y chromosome. Hence there is no any affected or mutant gene in these cases. Hence these are unaffected. 50% are, all sons are unaffected and all daughters are affected because daughters have 2X chromosome. This is the pattern of criss-cross inheritance. If both parents are carrier of the mutated gene, then 100% of daughters will have the disorder, but in case of son, there is 50% possibility. 50% son will have disorder and 50% will have normal. The X-linked recessive inheritance means a mode of inheritance of X chromosome that causes phenotype to be expressed. Female carriers have only copy of gene and usually don't express the phenotype when it is recessive. X-linked recessive inheritance has some examples: color blindness, hemophilia, Becker's muscular dystrophy or Hunter's syndrome, etc. The well-known example is color blindness. It is a defect in which person cannot distinguish between red, green or both the colors from other colors. This disorder affects about 8% of men and about 1% of women. The sufferers are unable to tell the difference between red and green. This disease, color blindness, shows a zigzag or criss-cross inheritance, and we can see the genotypes in case of color blindness. It is sex-linked recessive disorder. Males have the disorder more than females because they only have one X chromosome. Unaffected female has a genotype. Unaffected means a dominant gene is there, 2X with capital R. Affected female, that is both X have small r, and carrier female is heterozygous. Unaffected male, that is having a capital R but only one X is there. An affected male has a small r and another is Y. These individuals which has a X-linked recessive disorder, and it shows difficulty in distinguishing between shades of green and red. The percentage is there. In case of male, nearly 8% has such disease, and in females, there is 0.5% female disease. The inheritance of X-linked dominant genes, the affected males pass the condition on to all their daughters but to none of their sons. The females usually pass the condition on to 50% of son and daughter. A X-linked dominant gene fail to be transmitted to any son from mother which did not exhibit the trait itself. In human, X-linked dominant conditions are relatively rare. One example is hypophosphatemia, vitamin D resistant rickets. These are the X-linked dominant genes. The next part, that is Y-linked inheritance. We will see this in next video.